Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're on the website of PK Gallery based in the US, and we're going to have a look at their latest auction, which is Fine Stringed Instruments, and it's finishing on the 7th of December. Now this is a completely new auction house to me. I only heard about it because someone commented on one of the videos and said I should check it out, so many thanks for that tip. I really appreciate it. So I'm not sure if this is a one-off auction or if this auction house does lots of musical instrument auctions, but I'm definitely going to keep monitoring them from now on, and it's really good to see another US auction, so I'm really kind of happy to cover those kind of auctions. So I've read up a little bit on the terms. So it's 22% buyer's premium if you bid through their website, or it's 25% if you use like a third-party auction platform, so that's pretty good. Looks like this auction has 72 lots, so it's not too crazy. They're based in New York. As with all of these kind of auctions, check the terms and conditions. Obviously, this is a US-based auction, so if you're outside of the US, bear that in mind. Import, export fees, shipping, etc. Possibly CITES restrictions as well. So yeah, do your kind of research before you get into it. Obviously, if there's a buyer's premium, whatever the final hammer price is, you need to pay that buyer's premium on top. So before we get started, just like to say, if you do enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing, turning on notifications or commenting, etc., all of that stuff, because it really does help. This is a shorter auction, which is good, because honestly time is a bit kind of precious for me at the moment, so I struggle a bit. Some of the auctions are almost a bit too long for me to cover, which is why you probably notice that I'm not doing so many videos at the moment. I just unfortunately don't really have the time, but if it's a nice kind of shorter video, then that gives me a bit of an opportunity to cover something, and it's always nice to see new auction houses. So anyway, that's enough of me completely rabbiting on. As always, I'm just going to go through the catalogue now and see if there's anything interesting. A lot of bows, I think, in this particular auction. So straight away, I like the way that this kind of pulls up everything on the front page, and I don't have to kind of zoom in or out to get everything. That is really clever. So that is already like a big win. I really do appreciate that. So it looks like they've got quite a few pictures, so that's good. So a violin bow by Lothar Seifert there. Estimate 4 to 600, current bid 200. They've got a bit of a kind of information here. So Pernambuco, ebony and silver. It's the stamp as well, approximate dimensions. Not condition report so far that I've seen, but maybe we might see some other information in other items. But anyway, fair enough. That's interesting so far. We'll carry on to lot 2. Violin bow stamped Albert Nürnberger there. Once again, they have information, but not so much in terms of condition report, but I'm sure you can ask for that information. So we're just going to take a really brief kind of overview of this. So a violin branded Steiner at the back. So this is your typical German workshop instrument, nothing too crazy at all. But to be fair, they put up a lot of photos, so I think that's really good. So fair play to this auction house for doing that. Violin bow stamped taut there, ebony and nickel mounted. So they've got the length and the weight, so that's always quite handy. Not going to say too much about bows unless there's something really interesting, because it's not really something I'm super knowledgeable about. So a violin by Heinrich Theodor Hebelin Jr. there. So they've got estimate 3 to 4,000, current bid 1,000. Violin is accompanied by 2 violin bows as shown. Okay. And this looks like a nice enough violin. Not really sure what these actually go for, if this is some kind of master model or something. I'm not really up on this kind of stuff, but interesting nevertheless. Can't really see, unless I'm blind, I can't really see the violin bows as shown, so that remains a mystery, I think. So not sure about that, but anyway, apparently it comes with 2 violin bows, so there you go. Current bid 1,000. Once again, really good photos, but it looks like a kind of decent violin there, so I'm going to assume that this is kind of higher level one. Certainly looks well made in any case. Violin labelled Giovanni Cavani, £500 to £800 on that. Let's have a look on that. Certainly kind of curious looking thing there. Not really 100% sure what to make of that. Probably need to look at it in person. Violin labelled G.A. Frechner. So I think this is, you know, kind of the German workshop violin. Has a bow with it, a Frechner bow. See, that Frechner bow could be worth money, depending. So potentially the bow could be worth more than the violin. But anyway, $200 to $300. But we can't see the bow, so that's kind of in the mystery. But the violin is definitely a kind of lower tier workshop violin from Germany. Violin labelled Stradivarius. It's got a bow as well. Oh, this time we do have a picture of the bow, so that's good. V-lick, that looks like a fairly kind of generic bow in not great condition. I think the violin also looks fairly standard. A violin bow by Andre Bresson. Not a name that's familiar to me. 1800 to 2500. Looks in kind of good condition, but it's not a maker that I know of. Cello bow by Michel de Lucia. I am absolutely so bad at pronouncing people's names. This name sounds familiar as well, but I just cannot. It's not a maker I know particularly well, but I'm pretty sure I've seen some of these bows go. But yeah, 1800 to 2500 seems fairly reasonable for a kind of modern silver mounted cello bow, so it doesn't seem unreasonable. Cello bow by Nicolas Lemaire, 2,000 to 3,000. Again, not really sure about this one. Looks awfully new. Not sure it's one of those ones that I'd have to look at in person. Cello bow attributed to Knopf family, 1800 to 2,500 there. Or round exotic wood. Interesting. Violin bow by William Lewis and Son. Okay, interesting. 2 to 2,800 on that. A cello bow by Charles Enel. Starting bids 800, estimate 3 to 4,000. I'm not really sure on the going rate of this kind of stuff in the US. Maybe that's kind of an accurate value. Is a nickel mounted bow though. A French cello bow, okay. Fairly vague, 3 to 4,000. Don't really have any comments on that. Violin bow by Burkhard Menzer. It's got some kind of certificate here from the maker. Yeah, once again, not a maker I know. 2 to 3. Interesting head on it. Looks kind of well made. So it's in the realm of kind of what a bow would cost. Violin bow by Milan Ubrecht. Another one that, don't know, 2.5 to 3. Not a maker I've heard of, unfortunately. An English cello bow circa 1820, attributed to Dodd family. Yeah, cool looking bow. Definitely 2.5 to 3,500. Very interesting bow. That's a curious frog. It's an interesting looking bow. That kind of Kramer head looks a little bit funky, and it's just a bit weird. But yeah, interesting. Some pictures here which seem to not be working. But yeah, 2.5 to 3,500. We've got some pictures here. Yeah, not sure. This is something just looks really a bit odd about this, but one of those ones you'd want to see in person, but interesting anyway. Violin bow by Joseph Alfred Lamy, professional restoration behind the head. Would argue that it's possibly not crazily good repair because I can see it from quite far away. So, but always worth looking at these things in person. Anyway, 3,000 to 4,000 the estimate on that. I mean, looks like a nice bow other than that. Violin bow by Leon Peak, 2.8 to 3.5. It's quite a nice looking bow. Actually don't know how much these bows go for at all. I have no idea. It's quite heavily worn, but yeah, interesting. French cello bow, circa 1860, 3 to 4. So I can't comment enough on the attributions on some of these bows. Violin bow by Giuseppe Vitale, 3 to 4. German cello bow, circa 1930, 3 to 4 on that. German violin bow, faintly stamped Vorin, 3 to 4. I just think some of these, maybe it's a bit high, the estimate there. Viola bow by André Grenier, 3 to 4. Violin bow by Charles Nicholas Bazar, 2.5 to 4.5. I guess that probably makes sense for kind of US pricing. Obviously depends on the condition. Cello bow by JTL, 3.5 to 4.5 there. Be interesting to see how these go for. I really like the JTL stuff. Not 100% sure what they go for, but it actually looks like quite a nice bow. Is it worth 3.5 to 4.5? I don't know what the US market is like, to be honest. Viola bow by Wilhelm August Frechner there, 3.5 to 5,000. I mean, a good Frechner bow is pretty decent, so that might be kind of a fair estimate there. Violin bow attributed to Simon School. That is a curious looking bow. Quite like that. 5 to 6. That is fairly pricey. Viola bow by John Bolander. Okay, that's an interesting bow. 5 to 6. Cello bow by Ludwig Bausch, 4 to 5 on that. A lot of bows here. Viola bow by Otto Hoyer. Okay. Violin bow by Charles Nicholas Bazar. A steel violin bow by Jean-Baptiste Vuillaume. Yeah, 5 to 6. These are so interesting, these bows. I think they're really cool. This one is 100%, like, there's no one that's making, as far as I'm concerned, copies of these bows that Vuillaume made for a period. Yeah, definitely 100% correct. So yeah, really interesting. So very curious. A rare viola bow by Stephen Tumhart. Okay, circa 1800s, 5 to 8. Cool, interesting head on that. Cello bow by André Chardon, 5 to 8. Violin bow by Dodd, 6 to 8. Another interesting looking one there. Cello bow by John Dodd for Forster. Okay, 8 to 10. Yeah, interesting looking bow. I mean, there's some pretty interesting stuff in this auction. Violin bow by Joseph Gaud. Interesting, 8 to 12. If you're interested in French bows, there's all of these Vichy auctions at the moment, which I'm just not going to cover because they've got too many lots in them. But if you want a sea of French instruments and bows, then definitely look at that. Violin bow by Louis Panormo there. Okay, 12 to 15,000. Cello bow by Louis Panormo, 12 to 15. Yeah, that's a great head on that. In general, yeah, it looks pretty nice. A rare and fine viola bow by William Tubbs. Okay, interesting. 12 to 15. Viola bow by Louis Panormo. Wow, someone really had a collection of Panormo bows here. 14 to 16. Cello bow by Francois Percat. Okay. Certificate from Paul Childs and Raffin certificate. So that's pretty good there. Wow, 22 to 28,000. That is a high level bow. Cello bow by Samuel Allen. 22 to 28 there. The Hill and Son stamp. Okay, that's quite a lot. That is interesting price point. Violin bow by James Tubbs. 15 to 25. Violin bow by Joseph Alfred Lamy. 15 to 20. Cello bow by Claude Auguste Thomasin. 18 to 25 on that. Right, here we are on getting on the big scale. Violin bow by Eugene Sartori there. 18 to 25 on that. Got 8,000 bid. An early violin bow by James Tubbs. Okay. 18 to 25 on that. An early violin bow by Eugene Sartori. Okay. 20 to 30. 8,000 bid. Or maybe it's not even starting the bid there. A viola bow by Claude Auguste Thomasin. Interesting current bid, $10 for 20 to 25,000. Clearly, I guess no one's bid on that yet. So it's fairly high-end kind of stuff. Violin bow by Jean Adam. 25 to 35. Cello bow by Charles Husson. Okay, that's interesting. Additional photographs and details to be released. Okay, interesting. Violin bow by Jacob Uri. 35 to 45. Wow, okay. Got a Paul Child certificate there. Original button was discovered by the owners, replaced the later button which was featured photographed on the certificate. Okay, interesting. Violin bow by Etienne Pajot. Well, 40 to 60. Yeah, we're in some high territory there. Another violin bow by Dominique Percat. 35 to 45. That's a beautiful head on that for sure. Right, we're on to some other. Oh no, we're another bow. A cello bow by Nicholas Mayer. 45 to 50. So, yeah, lots of fine bows here. Viola bow by Etienne Pajot. 40 to 50. That's an interesting looking frog there. Violin bow by Jacob Uri again. 45 to 60,000. Yeah, the bow is pretty mad here. Cello bow by Etienne Pajot. Okay, 50 to 60,000 on that. Right, a violin labelled Augusto Cacciaguerra Brianza, Italy. 5 to 8,000 on that. Violin is accompanied by 2 bows. Okay, interesting. 5 to 8,000 on that. Certainly an interesting looking violin. No thoughts on it myself, but definitely an interesting one. Right, a violin labelled Jacob Petz. Okay, that's fairly interesting. 5 to 8. Seems possibly a bit optimistic, but nice photos, eh? A violin by Alberto Blanchi. Estimate 12.5 to 15,000. I mean, that looks correct. Just looking at that scroll, that looks very much like a Blanchi scroll. Yeah, nice looking violin. I really like his work. I think it's really, really cool. So it's a nice looking violin. A violin by Paul Blanchard here, 10 to 20,000 there. Okay, I don't know what this Interesting inscription or something here. An interesting violin labelled Joseph Guarnerius, attributed to Degani School. Estimates 18 to 25,000. Yeah, I mean, it's one of these ones that's difficult to know really until you look at it in person. But curious scroll there from the front. A rare cello by Bernard Simon Fent II, certified by W.E. Hill and Sons, 40 to 50,000 on that. It's an interesting scroll there, isn't it? Cello is unlabelled. Okay. It's fairly curious. Yeah, interesting looking one. It's got a letter from the Hills. Yeah, that is interesting. An important cello by Giulio Ettore Degani, 120 to 130,000. Definitely interesting. A rare violin by Johannes Theodorus Kuipers. I feel like we've gone over the 72 lots here. I'm now really confused by what's actually going on here. But anyway, yeah, great kind of violin here. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. 60 to 90,000 the estimate on that. Violin by Antonio Scarbi, 50 to 75,000 on that. I'm now so confused by the lot count. I have no idea. That's a really cool scroll there from the front. A viola by Enrico Marchetti there. So 406 mil there, which is pretty good. Okay, have we got any more, or are we actually at the end? Right, okay, we've suddenly skipped lot 94, or who knows what's going on. Maybe there were 72 lots and the numbers skipped and I didn't realise. Anyway, a viola by Marino Capiccioni, 60 to 80,000 there. So yeah, it's a real interesting mix of things here. Curious auction. Definitely worth checking out, especially if you're into bows. I've not really done it kind of justice, but yeah, an interesting auction, and that seems to be the end. So yeah, PK Gallery, never heard of them before. There's some really interesting bows and instruments in this auction. Definitely take your time, check it out, see what you think. I've just covered it very vaguely and not particularly interestingly, but yeah, I think this is a cool auction. Check out, link is in the description. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.